AITA for buying a motorcycle using the refund from the engagement ring my fiancé rejected? I'm 32 years old. Last Saturday, I proposed to my girlfriend of 4 years. We had already talked many times about getting married throughout the relationship. She knew that proposal was going to come at some point. I really believed we were aligned on everything: timelines, values, plans for the future, and the kind of life we wanted to build together. I discovered I was wrong, perhaps about almost everything. A bit of context. I am an electrician with a union card, certified as a master electrician. I earn a good living. Last year, with overtime, I cleared around $85,000. I am not rich, not even close, but I live comfortably. My truck is paid off. I live in a decent apartment in the suburbs. I have good benefits and had been saving for 18 months specifically for the engagement ring. I wanted to do it right. I spent $12,000 on the ring. It was a princess-cut diamond, 1.2 carats. Excellent clarity. Platinum band. I researched a lot. I visited 4 different jewelry stores over 3 months. I asked questions. I learned about the 4CS. I compared options. I chose something classic and beautiful based on what she always pointed out in magazines and window displays over the years. The jeweler said it was an excellent choice within the budget. I felt proud. The proposal itself was incredible, better than I imagined. It was a dinner at a high-end restaurant she had wanted to try for months. I got down on one knee between dessert and coffee. She said, "Yes," and she cried. We cried together. The table next to us applauded. In less than 20 minutes, she had already uploaded the ring to Instagram with a caption saying that forever started here. I really thought everything was perfect until Monday arrived. I was at work. I had just finished running cable through a drywall ceiling at a commercial site when my cell phone buzzed. Her message said, "We need to talk about the ring." I thought it was something simple, maybe sizing details. I didn't even worry. I called during my lunch break, sitting in my truck eating a cold sandwich. That is when everything fell apart fast. "I showed the ring to my mom and sister earlier today," she said. Something in her tone of voice already sounded wrong. And honestly, I am embarrassed. Embarrassed of what? The ring is small. You have to understand that, she continued before I could react. My sister's husband gave her a 2-carat princess cut. My cousin has an emerald cut that is almost 2.5 carats. My mom said that when my dad proposed, he spent 3 months of his salary. This ring looks like something from a mall kiosk. A knockoff. I sat there in the truck, my food getting cold on my lap, trying to process what I was hearing. I spent over $12,000 on that ring, I said, still half in shock. Then did they cheat you? Or did the jeweler see you were an easy mark? Or maybe you just have bad taste. I don't know. Either way, I can't wear it in front of my family. She explained that her cousin's wedding would be next month with the whole family present. I'm not going to show up there with that on my finger while everyone has real rings. I stayed silent for about 15 seconds. I literally couldn't think of anything to answer. "Look," she continued, filling the silence. "It is not a big deal. My mom knows a guy who makes custom jewelry, heirloom pieces, quality stuff. Not stuff from a common chain store. We return this one and use the money for something better. If we have to spend more, I will cover the difference. We resolve it. Are you asking me to return the ring I proposed to you with? The ring you accepted, that you posted on Instagram 2 days ago? I just want something I am not ashamed of. Is that so wrong? I am going to wear it the rest of my life. I shouldn't have to force myself to love the ring." I said I needed to think about it, and hung up. I spent the rest of the shift completely disconnected from work. A coworker asked if I was okay, and I simply couldn't answer. When I got home that night, she wasn't there. Later I learned she was at her mom's house, discussing options and looking at ring models. Around 9 p.m. came the message that ended it all. "Keep the ring. I am not going to wear something so cheap." That says everything about how you see me and how you see our future. When you are ready to take us seriously, when you are ready to show that you truly value me, then we talk. But I am not going to walk around with a constant reminder that my fiancé didn't even do the bare minimum. I read it 3 times, let it settle, and answered with a single word, "Understood." The next morning, I went back to the jewelry store. I explained the situation in 2 sentences. The salesperson was genuinely supportive. He said he saw this more times than people imagine, that many people forget what an engagement should represent. Full refund. $12,000 back in my bank account in 2 business days. No argument, no judgment. And here is where maybe I went off script. I have had the dream of owning a motorcycle since I was 19, specifically a Harley-Davidson Street Glide. When I was a teenager, I went to a bike week event with my dad, and that marked me. I never forgot it. I just never bought one because another priority always appeared. First saving for the down payment on the apartment, then building an emergency fund. Then her car had transmission trouble. Then saving for the ring. Always later, always next year. Always waiting. Not anymore. I found a used 2021 Street Glide in excellent condition at a dealership about an hour away. Matte black paint, 8,000 miles on the odometer, impeccable maintenance records. The seller was asking $18,000. After an hour of negotiating, I closed at $15,500. Why? $15,500. I said through refund days' substantial down payment. $12,000. And financed the remaining $3,500 over 2 years. I left there riding the bike that same afternoon. The whole way back, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. It is hard to explain. Maybe freedom, maybe relief, probably both. And yes, I admit it. I took a picture of the bike parked in my spot along with a screenshot of the purchase receipt, clearly showing $12,000 as a down payment, and sent it all to my now ex-fiancée with the caption, "Thanks for the push. I always wanted one of these." She didn't reply for 6 hours. After that, my cell phone simply exploded. Her mom called me 17 times between 6 p.m. and midnight. She left voice notes ranging from, "How dare you do this to her?" to "You humiliated this whole family," passing through threats of making sure everyone knew what kind of person I really was. Apparently, there was the expectation that the ring I bought, the same one her daughter rejected, would become a family heirloom. Something to show off, something to pass down to daughters and granddaughters. Her mom had spent days telling relatives and friends about the engagement, and now she had to explain why suddenly there was no ring and no wedding anymore. My ex finally messaged near midnight. "You are completely crazy. You bought a bike with my ring money? I can't believe I wasted 4 years with someone so selfish and petty." I replied, "It was never your ring. You made that very clear when you called it cheap, shameful, and refused to wear it. I just reallocated the investment." She said I was emotionally abusive, financially manipulative, and vindictive, that I was punishing her for having standards and trying to humiliate her. After that, I stopped replying. There was nothing more to say. It has been 5 days. I received messages from her sister calling me petty and cruel, saying I needed therapy to fix what is broken inside me. Her dad sent just one disappointed message. "I thought you were better than this." That one hurt. I really liked her dad, a simple man with his feet on the ground, one of those who speak little and observe much. I respected him, but the truth is this: I don't regret it. It was 4 years together. 4 years of parties, family meals, talks about the future. And yet, she looked at something I saved months for, researched with care, and chose with affection, and she said it embarrassed her in front of her mom. Then she demanded I return the ring and buy something that met the family's expectations. That is not a partnership. That is an audition I didn't even know I was giving. So, now I have a bike I wanted for 13 years, and I no longer have a fiancé. Many people would call that a loss. I am starting to think it was the best trade I have ever made. Update 1, Day 8. Well, things escalated for real. I needed to vent somewhere because my friends are already sick of listening to me, and I am sick of thinking about it, but I simply can't stop. First, thanks to everyone for the support on the original story. It really helped to know I wasn't crazy. Some people asked if I hadn't been too harsh, if it wasn't worth a longer talk, trying to fix it. I thought about it. I lost sleep over that until day 6. On the 6th day, any doubt evaporated. Her mom showed up at my building without warning. She was standing at the door when I opened it after hearing the knock. Arms crossed, designer bag on her shoulder, with that expression of someone who came to conduct a performance review. "We need to talk about how you are going to fix this situation," she said. She didn't ask, she stated it, as if it were already decided and I just needed to be informed. "There is nothing to fix," I replied. "Your daughter and I are no longer together because you turned a ring into a problem. I was just trying to help you make a better choice. That is what couples who love each other do. They help each other grow." She called a ring worth $12,000 cheap and shameful. She said it looked like something from a mall kiosk, and that said everything about how I saw her. That does not help, not even close. She looked at me as if I were slow. The ring was below our family's standard for what this occasion represents. Do you have any idea how much my husband spent on my engagement ring in 1989? I replied with all honesty, I really don't care. He spent $32,000 because he understood what a woman of my level deserves, what a family like ours expects. That ring should become part of our family legacy, something to pass forward. Something my granddaughters would wear someday. And you destroyed that possibility because you didn't know how to handle a little honest feedback. So it wasn't about her daughter being happy with the ring. It never was. It was about showing it off at family events. It was about having an accessory to uphold the legacy she herself had created in her head. Her face turned red, truly red and blotchy. You are still going to regret how you behaved. I know people in this community. I know what you do for a living. Do you really think service providers don't talk to each other? That people don't remember who is problematic, who publicly humiliated his own daughter? I couldn't contain myself and started laughing. I laughed for real in her face. Ma'am, I am union. I have more job stability than a tenured professor. Your country club friends don't even hire union electricians. They use non-union crews because they are cheaper. Please, get off my property. She left, but not without saying before that I had destroyed her daughter's happiness and that I should enjoy my little toy while I could because karma would come. Day 7 was quieter and weirder. My ex's younger brother messaged me out of nowhere. He is 24 years old, still trying to find himself in life, but always seemed like a good kid. We played video games together when I went to his house for family dinners. The message was direct. Brother, I don't want to get involved, but you should know that my sister is going around telling everyone that you were controlling in the relationship, and that's why she ended it. Just seemed fair to warn you. I thanked him for the warning and asked if he believed it. He replied, no, I was there for 4 years. You weren't controlling. You were just the only person who ever said no to her. It's not the same. Then he added, and for what it's worth, the bike looks really cool. I always wanted a Harley. At least one person in that family still had common sense. Day 8. Today I discovered how far the story had been distorted. A coworker asked me during lunch, totally serious, if it was true that I had made my girlfriend sell her engagement ring to be able to buy a motorcycle. That is the version circulating now. According to that story, she had the ring. I forced her to sell it against her will. I took the money and bought a toy with something that was her property. I showed him the real messages, the original conversation, her words, the timestamps, my one-word response. His reaction was immediate. Brother, that is crazy. She really said that about a $12,000 ring? Word for word. She called it cheap? She said she was ashamed? She told you to keep it. He showed the screenshots to some other team members. By the end of the day, the consensus among everyone who saw was clear. I escaped something very ugly. One of the veterans, married for 32 years, pulled me aside and said, my wife's ring cost $1,500 back in '92. She wears it to this day. She never complained once. The ring means nothing if the person is wrong. That helped me more than I expected. What didn't help was discovering that my ex started a complete campaign of rewriting history. According to the new version, we were practically engaged for years. I played indecisive, and when I finally proposed, it was with the cheapest thing I found, just to shut her up. For years of a relationship reduced to me being indecisive and cheap. Everything we built for real was erased and replaced by that narrative where she is the victim of my inadequacy. I didn't enter the game. I refused to turn this into a public spectacle of accusations on social media, but I did one thing. I set the ring purchase receipt as my cell phone wallpaper for a week. Every time someone asked about the situation, I showed the lock screen. $12,000. Cheap, according to her family. Petty? Sure. Satisfying? You can't imagine. Update 2, Day 16. Last update, because finally, it seems like all this is burned out and I need to move on mentally. Day 11. Her sister sent me an invoice. I am not joking. An invoice for $350 with the note, bridal magazines, and planning materials we already bought. You owe this. I rejected the charge and blocked her. But honestly, the audacity was almost impressive. They were planning a wedding that never had a date, buying magazines and materials before I had even officially proposed, and somehow that became my financial responsibility. Day 13. The real confrontation happened. My ex showed up at my apartment. It was the first time I saw her in person since the night of the proposal. She looked exhausted, as if she hadn't slept well in a week. "Can we talk?" she asked. "Just talk." Against my better judgment, I let her in. She sat on the sofa, the same place where we watched hundreds of movies over 4 years. It is weird how someone can seem so familiar and at the same time completely strange. "I had time to think," she said slowly, "and I realized I handled everything wrong. I shouldn't have sent you that message that way. I should have spoken to you in person, calmly. Explained how I felt. But you need to understand where I'm coming from." My whole family was excited. My mom had literally already told everyone about the engagement, the book club, tennis friends, the whole family. She took a deep breath before continuing. Then I show the ring, and my sister makes that face, trying not to react. My mom goes quiet in that way she gets when she is disappointed, and I panicked. It was humiliating. I felt humiliated in front of my own family. "So you humiliated me?" I replied. "I didn't mean to do that. You called the ring cheap. You said it embarrassed you. You said that showed I didn't value you. You told me to keep it as if it were worth nothing. Which part of that wasn't meant to be humiliating?" She started to cry. It wasn't a theatrical or fake cry. They were silent tears rolling down her face. She was hurt, and my mom the whole time saying I deserved more. That if that was what you bought, then clearly you weren't taking it seriously. Your mom's opinion about my proposal never should have mattered. I know. Now it's okay. I was wrong." She wiped her face and continued. "But you didn't have to take it that far. Buying a bike with the ring money. Sending a screenshot of the purchase. That was cruel. It was done to hurt me." I stayed silent for a moment, thinking carefully about what to say. "Do you want to know what was cruel to me?" I said. "Planning that proposal for 18 months. Saving every extra dollar from every hour of overtime I worked. Spending 3 months researching diamonds until I knew more about clarity grades than electrical codes. Being so nervous and excited to give you something beautiful that I barely slept the night before, and then discovering that none of that was enough." She looked at me in silence. "Discovering that it embarrassed you. That I embarrassed you." She wiped her eyes again. "That wasn't what I meant. That was exactly what you meant. You just didn't think there would be consequences for saying it." She took a deep breath. "So is this it? For years together? And it's over because I said something stupid about a piece of jewelry. It's over because you showed me exactly who you are when something doesn't meet your expectations. And honestly, I am grateful for having discovered it now, before a wedding, before a mortgage, before kids, before spending the rest of my life trying to reach standards I was never going to achieve." She didn't scream, didn't threaten, just took her bag and left. Day 16. Today her mom made the last attempt. An email. 2,000 words of accusations, complaints, and demands about how I completely ruined her daughter's future and destroyed what should have been a beautiful union between families. She really used that expression as if we were medieval nobility sealing a treaty. The email ended with a demand. I should compensate the family for emotional damages and financial losses. She wanted $4,000 for wedding preparations that, according to her, were underway. Venue deposit, banquet consultations, dress adjustments, everything supposedly paid. Before I even proposed to her daughter, I forwarded the email to a lawyer friend. His response was simple. "This is genuinely funny. Totally unenforceable. It doesn't work like that legally, and it looks like text from someone who has never heard no in her life. Ignore it." And I did. I blocked her email, her number, everything closed. 3 weeks since the proposal. The chaos has largely passed. I heard from third parties that my ex had a falling out with her sister. Apparently, the relationship with her mom got complicated after I stopped being the target of everyone's anger, and they had to deal with each other. The brother still follows me on Instagram. He liked a photo I uploaded last weekend of the street glide parked at a scenic lookout. As for me, I am fine. Some days better than others. The bike is everything I dreamed of for 13 years. I went on a long trip last Saturday, 3 hours without a destination, just the highway, the wind, and silence inside the helmet. It was the first time I felt truly at peace since all this started. People keep asking if I regret how I handled the situation, if I was too harsh, too petty, too quick to burn it all down. And being honest, some nights lying alone in an apartment that still has empty spaces where her things were, I think about it. For years is a long time. Not everything was bad. Many things were good. But then I remember that message. Keep the ring. I am not going to wear something so cheap. $12,000. 18 months saving. Countless hours of research, planning, and expectation. And that embarrassed her. I embarrassed her. It wasn't enough for her family's expectations. And that isn't love. That was a transaction I didn't manage to conclude the right way. So this is it. A motorcycle I wanted since adolescence, an apartment too quiet, and a very clear understanding of what I really meant to someone I would have spent the rest of my life with. Some people call this a loss. Maybe it is, but I prefer a hard truth to a comfortable lie any day. Thanks to everyone who read this far. Take care. Comment. Sometimes life forces a hard exit from a situation we thought would last forever, and it turns out to be a saving grace. Standing up for your dignity isn't petty or vindictive. It's simply recognizing that your genuine effort should be met with appreciation, not judgment. Real love builds you up instead of measuring you against an imaginary checklist. Walking away from something familiar is terrifying, but staying where you're undervalued is worse. Finding peace often requires difficult choices that others may not understand right away. Remember, a price tag never defines the worth of a relationship or the depth of commitment. Healing begins the moment you stop apologizing for having standards and self-respect. I hope you find the courage to choose your peace over a comfortable lie. You deserve to be with someone who sees your value without needing a receipt to prove it. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.